listen up. Yeah, we here and we locked in. Let's keep it going all the way to the top 10. We feel the turtle, so it's no other option. Fred and Ryan, just watch them. Let's take it to the max. It's the shell and tell. They come with all the facts. It's the shell and tell. Let's take it to the max. It's the shell and tell. They come with all the facts. It's the shell and tell.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Shell and Tell. No, I did not hide because we got embarrassed at home our first loss. I just got back from the happiest and wettest place on earth, Disney World, that I had planned from Sunday morning at 5 a.m. to the next game, Saturday at 10. I didn't even get to watch the first half of Virginia live. Went back and watched it after I watched the victory this week. So we didn't get to talk last week, but, it's all for the better because now we don't have to, cry in each other's faces, Ahmed.
Yeah, I think everyone's happy to put week 2 behind us, get a chance to get back on track against former ACC rival, border rival, and get a chance to take down Virginia.
We need so many more ACC teams on our schedule. We just continue to dominate up to 5-1 with 130-point advantage on. If you follow the Shell and Tell Twitter account, we put that out there again. We're keeping track. I like keeping tabs on the old foes. Everybody wants to whine about the ACC loss. I think we're starting to lose that crowd. There's not a lot of crying anymore, but it's always good to just stick it to the ones because they weren't good to us once they found out we were leaving, and honestly they were never good to us when we were there.
Yeah, no, definitely take it. Obviously next year we'll be off and then back to Virginia Tech in 2026. But I think it's kind of been consistent under locks. Get a chance to wrap up that West Virginia series. Now wrapped up the Virginia series. So just keeping the regional rivalries and those matchups alive, I think is good and a great way to round out that non-conference schedule.
Yeah, it keeps you in the eyeballs of these high school teams around the area. Make sure that they're looking at Big Ten as well as their ACC locals. So it's always good to have. And we got another win out of the way. This was a big one to get in the win column because you're running out of games that you were just expecting to win. I think we got a little ahead of ourselves with the Michigan State thing. I think that we put a little bit too much weight on the new coaches, the new players, and there was a lot of problems with us. I thought that we did not play well, but we played well enough that I thought we should have beat what I thought Michigan State was, especially after their week 1 performance. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I think, really just from Maryland, I think just that Michigan State game, what stings was that, that last 10 minutes, Maryland had a chance up 7 driving right outside the red zone. And, the first really, and still the only Billy interception of the season, but, chance to squander that. And Michigan State on the very next play, they go down, get a chance to tie it up right there. And then, so, defense, offense folded, and then special teams with a chance to push the lead to 10 again. Jack Howes, he pushed his field goal wide. So I think, just watching the game slip away in all 3 phases down the stretch at home, really in that first chance to beat a formidable opponent, Big Ten opener, home opener. I think that was the deflating aspect. So getting a chance to kind of put that behind them in week 3, I think it was big.
Yeah, I'm glad to see the defense get right because the most deflating part of that whole game was that we seemingly were playing good defense. And like I said at the beginning of the year, my path towards my wins that I was looking at was this defense holding our opponents to 24 and under. That was what I was seeing was the path to actually getting a victory. And we had them where we wanted them over and over again. We had them in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, and there was a conversion and a conversion and a conversion. You just couldn't get off the field. And every time the fans would get up and get into it and just be deflated. I can't remember a more stressful loss than that one in a long, long time. It was very, very rough, but the defense is the only reason that we're sitting in the win column today. They gave the offense chance after chance this week, a absolutely dominant performance, basically beginning to end, except for the one drive at the first half that unexplainably, we were able to score they were able to score with 1 second remaining.
Yeah.
It was a pretty lights out job.
Yeah, I thought really, that last drive there, like you said, being able to generate two takeaways in the first half. I thought that was obviously big, with one of them being in the red zone. I think that was Quayshawn Fuller who or Tommy Basote, correct me if I'm wrong, who registered that forced fumble. But again, I think just watching Maryland kind of take the lead there with Caden Prather recording his first touchdown. The deep ball has been something that Billy Edwards and Caden Prather have tried to connect with through those first 3 weeks. So getting that first chance for them to connect, and Maryland taking their first lead of the night. And like you said, Virginia being able to go down 71 yards, 5 plays, and 53 seconds was completely deflating going into the locker room. But really, I think the takeaway in that last 2 minutes there was just the Maryland offense really starting to find its groove. And once they found the end zone, felt like the first time and definitely the second time, it felt like that things were starting to click for them. But like you said, the defense played lights out, and especially that second half, outscoring Virginia 20-0. It was as much on the offense as it was on the defense through the last 30 minutes. So I think it was necessary for Maryland to kind of put that last 30 minutes together. Fans got a chance to see some of those second half adjustments that we got a chance to see so frequently through the 2023 season under Brian Williams.
Yeah, you talk about the deep ball with Caden Prather. We haven't really gotten the deep ball connected at all. We've had a couple open opportunities. There's been some close calls, but even without that, you have one of the top receivers in the nation in Ty Felton. I think he's top 3 in pretty much every category there is for a receiver. Unbelievable breakout for him, and we see that there is another level this offense can take, and I think it probably will take in the passing game. The running game, to me, is a different story. The offensive line seems to be much better at pass protection, and Billy seems to be comfortable back there with that. The running game, it still stresses me out that you need 11 people and a couple defensive linemen just to get a yard. If it works, great, but it is kind of frustrating on these 3rd and shorts, these 4th and shorts, that we can't figure out a way to do it with or without that at times.
Yeah, like you said, about just Ty and Caden Prather there. I think Caden Prather has really kind of showcased himself through these, obviously last season into this year as that deep ball threat. And obviously, as Maryland continues to work on it, getting the ball out to Ty Felton in space, quick off the on a quick pass there, is exactly where he becomes his most explosive, and is exactly why he's being able to make those explosive plays like we've seen through these first 3 weeks. He had that one play, I think it was a 35 yard catch and run where he shook a tackle down the right sideline. Reminiscent to some DJ Moore. I'm not going to lie, just kind of with that speed. There was a little bit of Stephon Diggs, just kind of maybe with it being Virginia. That kind of came to mind for me, but just kind of that elusiveness that he's been able to show. I think that's why he's being able to hit the ground running. But you mentioned the run game. I think obviously Roman Hemby, he's kind of leading that running back room right now. But I think through the second half, Colby McDonald, Nolan Ray, Nolan Ray, I don't think had the same type of burst or not burst, but just kind of that big playability that we saw in the week 1 game, on his first touch at 48-yard play. But I think both Ray and McDonald proved themselves as more efficient running backs down this stretch as Maryland turned to the run game, being able to pick up the 4, 5, 6 yard plays. I think kind of helped Maryland solidify and maintain momentum through the third quarter.
I fully agree with you on the running back thing. I don't think it is a talent level issue. I fully believe that Hemby is probably our best back at this moment. Nolan Ray, I think, has the ceiling to be the best back of the future, or maybe even later this season. But it's not right for what this offensive line's creating. I think that Roman Hemby is more of take care of the lineman and get me on a linebacker and I'll take care of the business. And we're just not getting that first hole. He's not be able to take that first cut. With Nolan Ray, his production was down this week, but for me, it was because he was being used as this halfback dive type player. And with the way the line was running, I just needed him more on the outside. I didn't love that. McDonald was the only one that was actually productive this week because he kind of just runs like a hammer. He's just full speed at wherever he's supposed to go, and he's going to take however many yards he can get. which was the only team seemingly working in the run game this week. Again, the offensive line penalties were an issue. Apparently, there was a very loud crowd early. The penalties just were stacking up. Very sloppy game, and we couldn't get yards against an ACC opponent. If it looked like that against even Indiana, I'm not sitting here stressed out. But I saw what it looked like when we moved from ACC to Big Ten, and how much harder it was to move defensive linemen in that world. So for us to struggle to get 2-3 yards at a time against an ACC lineup is stressful. It really is. That's probably the biggest worry I have coming out of this game, was the lack of production in that.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe, potentially why, we saw, I think it was last play of the third quarter where Roman Hemby picked up the 3 yards on 4th and 2, and then 4th and 1 in the red zone, that on an eventual Billy Edwards rushing touchdown. But going forward on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal there, I thought was just kind of a way for Loxley, this staff, to really say, hey, we put our big boys against your boys, and we're gonna move you. And that was kind of, I think, what they did to kind of establish some of that momentum. And obviously, we saw Andre Roy go down. Wouldn't really dive, wouldn't be too concerned about that long term. Sounds like he should be okay there. But I think just kind of that offensive line for them to continue to gel a little bit. Like you said, just moving from the ACC to the Big Ten. Lockheed's talked about it really since he's been here. It takes 3-4 years to really build up some guys, 2-3 years to build up some guys in the trenches, get them, ready for Big Ten play. And obviously in year 6 now, seeing that wave turnover where you see, Terez Davis, Ryan Howerton, Michael Hershey, another guy that, kind of that next wave who's kind of in that 2 deep to be the future of the offensive line, but to have the 3 transfers, Andre Roy and converted defensive linemen, just continue to mesh together. I think that was just kind of a vote of confidence for them down the stretch.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we gave Jack Howes the blame for missing a field goal, so we have to give him a credit too. The beginning of that first half, we stalled out in the red zone with 3 drives in a row, and he knocked them all through. Any of those being missed, especially the first one, can completely change that game and can change the stress put on your offense. And Ty talked about it after the game, just like he just went to the defense, said, "Keep it up, we'll get it together, we'll start scoring," and to their credit, they did.
Yeah, and you talked about it though, the penalties. I mean, 7 penalties in the first half to 1 in the second half. It's not a surprise when you look at how the offense looked in the first half versus how they looked in the second half. Not a surprise to see reduction in improvement in efficiency, reduction in penalties translate to more chemistry offensively. So I think the Maryland kind of cleaning up the self-inflicted wounds that fans have seen, a little bit too frequently at times, these last couple of years. But just being able to clean that up, I thought was another key development of the second half there.
I still like the Virginia quarterback. I was impressed by him last year. I know he's just like a gunslinger and making maybe some bad head decisions, but I mean, if he wants to come be a backup quarterback up north at College Park, he can come. I think we can coach that boy up. He's got some arm talent.
Yeah, I thought I think Lax talked about it. Just kind of him having his coming out party last year. I think there's a lot of tools in his bag that really stick out. I think he's got a talent for sure. It'll just be kind of interesting to see how that Virginia offense unfolds. But credit to the defense as well, holding Malachi Fields in check.
Yes, that's a man. I was ill prepared for seeing him on the field. I was like, how are we going to contain this? I was a little scared at times, but they did a really good job, especially after the breakdowns on the deep balls the week before. That was certainly a worry. I do not know what they did to clean up the mess of allowing their 3rd and 10s and allowing all those deep balls. Seemingly, they got like 400 yards on, 6 passes the week before and didn't produce anything outside of those. So it was all really poor back-end defense play. And somehow in 1 week of practice against probably a slightly less opponent in Virginia, it looks pretty cleaned up. Well, we got 1 more week to clean it up even more before we're back right in the same scenario in the Big Ten. So let's hope that the progress we saw continues.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, just this weekend is really a chance to obviously one to wrap up non-conference play on a high note, but really a chance to kind of fine tune some things, test some things out, and then of course get some of these young guys. You talk about the secondary kind of taking that jump from week 2 to week 3. You like a lot of the inexperience in the secondary. Perry Fisher. This is I mean, this is what is his third career start, fourth career start, for considering from the bowl game as well. So getting these guys reps, and Kerm Humes is another guy who's played a lot. Braden Lee as well. So getting these young guys some reps, and then along the offensive line as well. Trez Davis, Ryan Howerton, Michael Hershey, like I mentioned. I think that's kind of the big thing, and obviously come out healthy so you can continue that momentum into Bloomington.
Yeah, coming out healthy. So the only, I guess, worry was Andre Roy. What are you hearing on that side of things?
Yeah, I'm not too worried. I mean, again, we'll kind of see about this weekend, but I think there wouldn't shock me if he's kind of limited, just kind of out of precaution. But it doesn't sound like there's really much long term concern. By the time Indiana rolls around, it sounds like the expectation is Roy should be good to go.
Almost like a Veterans Day off and a growth of your two deep when you're playing a Villanova level team that beat Towson by 1 point last week. So let's really hope this one's not scary at all. This is going to be one of those ones that if you live in a same game parlay state, please take the over on everything and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I think this game, obviously, I think is kind of similar to UConn week 1. I think UConn obviously has some talent, just kind of with some of their Power Four bounce back. Nick Evers as well, obviously there. But I think this is kind of a get not that Maryland. I think that get right chance was probably in Charlottesville over the weekend. But I think this is kind of a chance to, like I said, just kind of maintain momentum and really get some of these young guys a little bit more experience.
And that is the thing, is like these are very young players getting a lot of reps, especially on the back of the defense. That was basically the reason we could not beat Michigan State. So there is growth involved. There is reason to look up. I know we're all Terps fans, and as soon as anything goes wrong, we're ready to run for the hills. I'm certainly not the guy that says wait for basketball season, but we all know a million of those that immediately run to basketball the first loss of the season. So yeah, hope if you're listening to this, you're not that guy. Like there's other podcasts out there for you. But football is still king. We can still do this. I do not get my undefeated game against USC at home. But if there's a little sunshine, it'll at least get the like above average fans in the stadium, and then we can get back on track with a big time win that will get all the casuals back excited. Obviously, the undefeated season would have probably done that too, but maybe they would have just been disappointed at that point.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think I think that USC game continues to trend as the big game of the season, obviously. But I think this Indiana game in Week 5, I think is going to be shaping up to be a sneaky good game on the slate that week. I think Indiana obviously going into UCLA and coming out with a convincing win there. I think UCLA might end up being bottom of the Big Ten this year. I think we'll see, if not bottom 2, bottom 3 there. But I think just kind of Kurt Signetti for him and his team in year 1. They've put some positive momentum together. So I think it's really that next chance for Maryland to kind of validate themselves and enter October on a high note.
Yeah, run out of easy ones. I mean, Northwestern still looks like it should not be that difficult of a game. But outside of that, a lot of the other ones, we thought Michigan State might be a walkover after their poor performance week 1. So not a lot of guarantees, but a lot of opportunities. The Oregons, the USCs, and Penn States of the world still seem like a dream and a prayer. But hey, if you're telling me there's a chance, there's a chance. So I'm still locked in for a big time season. And I still got hope.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think obviously, again, like we said, I think this Virginia win this past weekend, I think was big, just kind of for just get back, the validation. Again, that second half is kind of what Maryland fans kind of expected to see. Both offensively and defensively. I think again, there are things to work with, and cutting down the turnovers from first to second half. I think is improvement, is a sign of encouragement, but kind of just eliminating those self-inflicted wounds. I mean, just some of those false starts on third down, fourth down. I think those are the things that will kind of eat at the staff, the players, Monday through Friday. But again, I'll say this. Week two. I don't. The Big Ten is the Big Ten. There's never going to be like inside. There's never an expectation like, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park. But think losing week two kind of heightened the focus a little bit more and kind of put a little bit more urgency to kind of get right. And I will say, I have no problem talking about it. Came out a lot better than was expected, but the Baltimore Sun article on Friday, just kind of, ended up poking around about, whether Loxley, whether, he was the right choice, whether he's right, they're justified to fire him. And a couple people, said that, the fact that it's even coming up is crazy, but it was kind of fallout from the week two game. So I think just for Maryland to kind of get back in week three, do what they needed to do, especially in the second half. And again, against a regional opponent, I think everyone knows by now. We all take a little bit of extra pride in beating Virginia.
Yeah, and you got me smiling here. I mean, I'm usually more informed than this, but again, was at Disney every minute except for the last 24 hours of work I did. So I didn't even know there was a Baltimore Sun article, but I'm sitting here first getting a little angry and then realizing, like, this is such a good thing. This is exactly what we talked about after the first game. There's more press coverage for the Terps. That's why that article exists. There's more interest. Maryland is not a team that should ever be discussing firing their head coach after the first loss of the season in the history of time. It's an absolutely insane thing.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of it's just kind of like you said, just kind of crazy. I mean, just kind of that knee-jerk reaction. Again, when you talk about that, when you kind of throw that kind of language out there, I think you kind of have to start taking a bigger step back. And obviously, he needs to pull off the ranked wins or beat the Ohio States, the Michigans, the Penn States. But it's always, is the program better off today than it was the day he took it? And I mean,
yes.
What angle do you want to talk about? The answer is yes.
Yes, all of them. Every angle, the answer is yes.
Yeah. So.
The wins will come. We have not had the opportunities for the bullshit ranked wins that we had in the ACC. We haven't gotten to play the number 22s and 23s. When we have, we've beaten them. The Texases of the world, well, that was before his time, but the NC State, I think, was ranked. We played them in the bowl game at like 23. There's been opportunities. Yeah, the Big Ten ranked teams are top 10. It's hard to beat a top 10 team.
Yeah, and again, I think the thing for me is that like why it's the same old. Why is it justified? And I always kind of point back to the first couple of years in the Big Ten. Maryland was just not competitive against the big dogs, but now you're talking about Maryland is plays away. It's
one score games versus the national champion. Back-to-back years, we took Michigan to the wire. Yes, he did not pull it off. Yes, there's things we could have done. You know what? If Ty Felton was this all-pro wide receiver and didn't bump it off his face mask to start the Michigan game, then maybe they don't ever make it to the playoffs because we would have beat them that game. We beat them all but the first 6 seconds of the game. And now Ty's got golden hands and is the best player I've can see on the field. There's lots of woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Yeah, and you kind of got to go through some of those trial and tribulations to be able to
be that guy.
So exactly that. But I think it was I think it was 7 plays that was the difference between Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State, and Ohio State, Michigan in 2022. So again, I think it's a complete, just. We're not there yet, but we'll see. I think obviously that USC game, the homecoming game, I think should be a great crowd. And I think that'll kind of be that chance for Maryland this year to move the needle with the fan base. But
I just hope the team this weekend gets out to a hot start. I know that there's a very little chance that there's actually an L in the column, but there is a good chance that the stadium is only at 25% full. And I've just seen the team react to that very poorly, at least with false starts and even throughout whole games. And I'm hoping that they can isolate that, because when you got Villanova and a loss already on your team, this insane fan base of ours is probably just not showing up. I'll be there. You guys need to look at somebody excited. I'll be in section 7, rows 4, 5, and 6, E, F, G. That's me. All right.
I'll be in the box.
He'll be in the box. He'll want to cheer. You're not allowed to cheer.
Yeah. I think they made an announcement that you weren't allowed to cheer during the week 2 game, and I was like, who screwed up that they had to announce it? But
yeah, I was at first it was like on my checklist of things I wanted when I started the podcast with a press pass, and then I'm like, no, actually I don't. I do. I'll go to the interviews afterwards, but I'm gonna stand on the sidelines. I'm gonna stay down there. Maybe a camera pass, maybe one of those.
Yeah, Mason and Wayne Viner. I know that's what they're rocking with, but yeah. Should be good out there this weekend. I think Maryland should go spy. I think I have it 45-6. I think it just should be pretty good game this weekend. So shall see how it shakes out.
Yeah, I like that. I probably give them 7 just because we've had too many deep ball things. Even week 1 in UConn got away from us passing along. So I feel more likely they'd get a touchdown than 2 field goals on us just because I don't see big drives. I see a big play. But what do I know? But yeah, big points. Ty Felton needs to establish himself as the absolute lead dog in receptions, get himself a nice lead before we go into Big Ten play, and it probably slows down just a little bit. I mean, if he wants to get 160 every week in the Big Ten, I'm not going to complain. I just don't think that's probably going to happen. So if you're already up top and now you got a Villanova waiting over here on the side, you should probably stat pad a little bit before we get into the Big Ten schedule.
There you go. And I'll give my hot take for this weekend. Ryan Manning gets his first career touchdown.
Ryan Manning, first career touchdown. I like it. He's had some circus catches. He's looked good out there. I've been a little surprised. I think I made a hot call that Neo Avery was going to get his first sack in that first half of the Michigan State game. He was disruptive. Don't get me wrong. He was in the backfield a lot. He's also maybe on a pitch count. I'm sure that they haven't said anything like that, but he seems to only be being used in the pass rush situations and kind of sparingly at that. So maybe it'll take a little bit longer, but still see giant things in that kid's future. Really like that. Have been pretty disappointed that Phillips hasn't been a bigger situation. They pumped him up like the next coming on the defensive line, and he sure looks like he should be able to pull it off. I don't know if he's getting double and tripled every time. I haven't gone to the footage that much, but he needs to get his production. So let me get that. Let me get Phillips for his first sack and make me eat my words. That sounds like a good prediction there.
There you go. And then we'll see what shakes out the following week in Bloomington. But as always, we will be back here next week to break it all down.
All right, guys. Well, get out there if you can. It's going to be good weather, 74 and partly cloudy. That's really good on the shady side of the stadium. You guys go ahead and take care of it. Come on down, eat the big Chessie is back, the full-size crab pretzel. It's like $40, totally worth it. It'll feed your whole family. I will be down there in Section 7. You want to come by and say hi, do that. Until next time, here's to wishing all is well under the shell.